Hey developers, today we are going to look at the complete web developer in 2020 0 to mastery by Andrei Neagoie. We're going to look at it, we're going to see what it offers you, and I'm going to give you my review of it. So make sure you stay all the way to the end. Hey, and if you don't know, my name is Eric. I'm a full stack software developer. I'm also the author of a few books. I'm also a big fan of Vue.js, React, and JavaScript. And if those things are what you guys like, make sure you click that subscribe button. And I went ahead and shaved. Yeah, so no more quarantine beard. You know, leave a comment below if you guys like the beard or not, because I might bring it back. Okay, so here is the Udemy page for the Complete Web Developer in 2020 0 to Mastery course. And I did a video recently on Angela Yu's, this course right here, the Complete 2020 Web Developer Bootcamp, and a lot of people said I should check this one out as well. And since I do what you guys tell me to do, I went ahead and purchased it. I went ahead and went through a bunch of sections so I can tell you what I think. Also, before we get started, I put a link to this course and Angela's course in the description below. So you can click on it. If you do end up buying it, I do get a few bucks. It helps support the channel. I really appreciate it. And Udemy is always having these amazing sales. In fact, right now you can get this course, as it says right here, $9.99 through May 14th. You got a few days left. So make sure, if you guys are interested, use the link in the description, and also I'll put it in the chat, in the description below, and also in the comments. So make sure you click on that link and yeah, purchase it if you guys are interested. So let's take a look at this. First thing I notice, this has many people have taken this course. And it's 116,000 people have taken the course. It was just updated just really recently in May, and it's created by Andrei Neagoie. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm going to say that's what it is. And he has English and Italian auto-generated. So I always like to look first when I look at Udemy courses to see first, you know, how popular it is. This is a very popular course, and I've never even heard of it until recently. So it's really cool that this has been out there. It's 34 hours on-demand video and 126 articles. So, you know, it's a hefty course. Now, we know that Angela Yu's course is over 50 hours. So if we're just looking at hour-to-hour comparison, you know, this one is not as long. But sometimes there is something nice about having a shorter course. Maybe you can learn stuff faster. And still, it's a lot of information. And we'll go over the course content in a second. I'm going to go through every section and just kind of talk to you guys about it and what I think. I've actually looked at many of these now, so I think I'm getting used to what people are looking for, especially when they call it a complete web developer bootcamp. You can see there's lots of reviews too. You know, there's a lot of featured reviews, and he actually has quite a bit of other courses as well on Andrei. And yeah, 72,000 students, which is pretty crazy, and 4.7 rating. So that's really neat. Let's take a look at what the course offers. It says it built 10 real-world web development projects you can show, and we're going to go over full-stack software development, which is important, including databases, React, and Redux. I'm going to talk to you guys about the React section in a little bit. I did watch quite a bit of it, and so I have an opinion on it. Express, SQL, and Postgres, learn modern technologies. Yeah, so I mean, for a web development bootcamp, web developer in 2020, it does have quite a few things that you definitely need. And this, I called it a boot camp. They don't really call it a boot camp in here. It's more just 0 to mastery, as if you can take this course and you can be a master in development. All right, so here is, I'm going to kind of scroll up to the top, and we're going to look at each section. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you the videos, because if I do, I will get copyright striked, and I don't want to do that to Andrei. So I'm just going to kind of talk about each section, and we're just going to riff on it and kind of compare it to some of the other courses out there that are considered some of the best on Udemy for complete web developers. And this is really geared towards beginners, I feel like. This is definitely a beginning web development course. Okay, introduction. So I watched this. This is pretty standard in most of these courses. So it goes over the course outline, which is a lot of different modules, which we're going to look at. They have a Discord server that you can join that I believe Angela Yu and a few others have some sort of community as well. One thing nice too is that they kind of promote open source, so there's a whole open source aspect to it where they're promoting students to kind of contribute to open source projects. I didn't look into it exactly, but it sounded like maybe there was a list of students that have open source projects and you can kind of join them. I know as a new developer, that's a kind of a neat thing to do, to be a part of a community and part of an open source project. So, I mean, all that was neat. And also they're like, make sure you go into the Discord channel and go to this channel and introduce yourself, and then go to this channel and do this. So it's like, that's one of the first exercises. And it's so important, especially if you're a new web developer and you're joining in this world, to find a community that you can really latch on to. If you like my community, by the way, I have a Code Tech and Caffeine. You can find it on Facebook. I'll put a link in the description. We have over 10,000 developers on there. Me and my buddy Dylan run it. And it's our community that we really help curate and promote. So if you are interested in a community, that's one way of doing it. But they also have a community here. This is kind of an interesting section. It's 24 minutes. And I was thinking, like, is this normal? I've never seen someone create a section specifically for how the internet works. Now, it's only 24 minutes long. And looking at, like, Angela Yu's course, which I'm going to kind of do throughout this because, by the way, I just did a video on Angela Yu's course, which I thought was excellent. But she also has, like, in her introduction, she kind of combined it. Just like, how does the internet actually work? It's probably the same amount of minutes. But it's good that they keep this, like, how does the internet backbone work? Like, how do requests get from your web browser to the server? And how does it return back? What are the HTTP methods? And so it's kind of nice that he went over those basics of, like, how does the internet work? And he included it in its own section. You know, it could probably be in the introduction. I don't know it necessarily needs its own section. It's only 24 minutes long. Same thing with history of the web. This is a little bit interesting. Once again, I think it goes a little bit more in depth than Angela Yu's course and Colt Steele's, which are other very popular courses. But it's kind of nice having this in there and just kind of understanding the fundamentals before we jump into actual programming. And then the next sections are pretty standard for most places. I watched them. By the way, Andrei's teaching style is excellent. You know, I didn't have any problems listening to him. He doesn't. I know I'm an American, and sometimes different accents. Sometimes different accents can bother me if I can't understand them. Of course, Andrei speaks perfect English. Maybe tiny hint of an accent. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it sounded great. I could follow all the way through. There wasn't any issues. Build your first website, resources, your text. Obviously, if you're from the UK or India, I mean, that's your own preference. Some people are easier to understand than others. So, I mean, this is pretty standard. One thing he does, he likes to build little projects in between all these different sections, and that works great. Of course, this section goes to HTML tags, advanced HTML, kind of HTML5 is mostly it, and then he has all these challenges and lots of resources, which is cool to go through. Then CSS, everything you should expect in a normal CSS module, box model, images, kind of the basic CSS selectors, specificity. And then advanced CSS, which he goes into like CSS3, some CSS stuff you should know, and then a couple of different exercises and solutions, which kind of gets you good to know. Now, Section 8 goes into Bootstrap 4. I think at one point, I want to say this course feels like it's been out for a while. This may have been a longer section, but I'm glad he introduces it but doesn't spend a lot of time in it. I think Bootstrap 4 is pretty much on the decline. I mean, of course, if you guys are in a company that uses Bootstrap 4, leave a comment below. But I think most of the time, if you are using Bootstrap 4, you're using like the React library, the Angular library, the Vue library of it that has the components already written in React or whatever. Most of these things, what Bootstrap 4 was created for, you can kind of do in CSS Grid and Flexbox now. But it's kind of nice he does go over it and how it works, just kind of real basics for it. And that was also inside the on Angela Yu's course as well. She goes over to Bootstrap 4, and she even goes to intermediate Bootstrap, which I don't even that's nice. She added that in there. I don't think it's really needed. Now, if you go to CSS Grid, this is really nice. I mean, CSS Grid and Flexbox are extremely important. I believe this also, goes over Flexbox. And he even talks about how he thinks that most of the time you're going to be great in CSS Grid and Flexbox and not even worry about Bootstrap, because most companies now are looking for people that could do CSS Grid and Flexbox, not necessarily Bootstrap. So that's really nice that he goes over that, and then he just have like most of his sections, a bunch of exercises and solutions, and that's really good. I believe Angela also goes over Grid and Flexbox, but I don't see it in here. I don't know if she goes over that much. Let's see here. See, she has intermediate CSS, and I do not see if she goes over flex. She floats. She may not actually go over it, so which that might be a problem. Not that big of an issue. I think modern day CSS, you always want to do flexbox and grid. Definitely flexbox. This is kind of an interesting section. It's only 40 minutes long, but that's kind of one thing I noticed about Andrei's courses. He has these little sections I haven't seen in many other of these kind of complete web developer boot camps, and that is the career of a web developer. So I kind of watched a couple of these videos. It's interesting. He talks about like how developers are in demand all over the world, and that you can get a pretty high salary from it, and this is what you should expect when you're working as a web developer. And even talks about LinkedIn, which I didn't look at, but looks like it's some like basic tips on LinkedIn, and kind of a little bit of soft skills of, should you apply if you're just trying to start out? Do you need to have enough experience? I think the general consensus is like just start applying. If you think you have enough experience, and even if you don't think you have enough experience, just keep applying everywhere. JavaScript sections. This is just 101 JavaScript. Once again, he has little exercises in between to help keep you sharp on it. DOM manipulation, this is pretty standard stuff. Oh, he does have one little tiny section on jQuery. That's what I noticed. Andrei doesn't go into jQuery, while both Colt Steele and Angela Yu actually have a complete jQuery sections. I think those are so outdated, I would never even watch them if I was buying one of these courses, but I think he at least mentions it here, which is good. I don't think you need a whole section on it. Maybe just a mention. Advanced JavaScript, this is something neat I haven't seen in many other places. He goes over not just some of the advanced stuff you probably see everywhere else, like scope and closures and things like that, which I think he has in like one of these. I think he has a closure section here somewhere. But he has like a bunch of sections on ES6 features, ES7 features, ES8 features, and ES9 and ES10. So he goes over like the last 4 years of all the new improvements to the JavaScript spec and what you can use nowadays, which is really cool. Like I've never seen one of these beginner web development courses go over that, which is cool that he did. So I think definitely bonus points for that. Command line, this is cool. I don't think Colt Steele goes over command line, but definitely he does, and so does Angela Yu. Development environments, once again, I think I don't see this too often. Sometimes this is mentioned in the introduction or the beginning of the course, but he actually has a whole 24 minutes. Once again, these special bonus sections are only like 30, 40 minutes, but they're kind of nice that they're in there. This certainly could have been put in the introduction or somewhere else. It feels like something you would want to know before you start the course, not in the middle of it. But like, here's Sublime and VS Code and Terminal. Someone should do a Vim one in here. That'd be neat. GitHub, open source project, so just kind of basics of how to get started Git and GitHub. I doubt he goes into much detail of like how to do, rebasing and things like that. It's probably really simple, basic stuff. Once again, a really kind of interesting section, a day in the life of a developer. I didn't actually watch this, but I'm assuming it's like you get up in the morning and you have a stand-up and we have some agile. It's cool he added in there. It's only 10 minutes. Once again, NPM scripts, this is just a real basic, like how NPM works. How do you do NPM init? What is Yarn? How's Yarn work? So just really basic stuff. How do you update packages? I think this is things that you normally as a web developer, when you run into this, you start Googling, like, oh crap, I need to update my packages. How do I do that? It's cool he has it in a section. It's over an hour long. All right, so this is what I want to talk about. I spent some time watching the React section, and I really think this is outdated, because it's not, it doesn't use hooks. It looks like it uses functional programming, but I didn't see everything that I think you would want in 2020 for a React developer. He does go over to Redux, which is something that I haven't seen often in other bootcamp apps out there. So that's a slight criticism. I think React, this section could have been either longer and probably have more information on hooks. He does kind of, looks like he updated this a few times because the Create React app like updated and it now uses NPX and you don't have to install it as like a global dependency. And for the fundamentals, like it looks like it's pretty good. Like you can kind of understand how to create the different components, different functional components. I just like he would have gone more into hooks and things like that. He does have a course that actually is called like React in 2020, and that actually goes into hooks and is probably a much better introduction to React than this. So keep that in mind. I think it's nice that he added in here. I think the one that Angela Yu created is probably better, and it's also twice the length. If you look at her React one, it's over almost 9 hours long, and she goes into JSX components and then actually using hooks. She doesn't go into Redux though, so I guess you got to kind of balance it out there. If you want one that actually is a little shorter but has Redux but doesn't use hooks, then you may want to use Andrei's. If someone takes this course and I'm mistaken here and it has more information about hooks than I missed it, then let me know, because I'm pretty sure I couldn't find it in there just watching it. Now going to the HTTP, JSON, AJAX, asynchronous JavaScript, this is standard stuff. He actually goes in ES8 async waits, which is cool that he did that. I think that's kind of the modern way most people are doing web development now, using async and await and then putting it in a try-catch block. Back in introduction, this is interesting. He actually has this big project called Smart Brain, which is like a full stack app that you create, which is really well done. And almost all these courses use Node and Express. I think that's like the everybody's go-to, and I understand why people do that, because Node is just really simple to understand, and we're writing JavaScript in the front end, and we can write now Node in the back end. I still kind of think that a lot of companies don't use Node. A lot of companies either just use Node for some lambdas, some serverless function stuff, but they actually use something like either Java or .NET or Ruby on Rails to actually create a fully functional back end. I think those are still extremely popular, and I wish one of these kind of web developer boot camps, full 30, 40-hour web development courses would cover something rather than just Node. I mean, that's probably pretty nitpicky. Maybe that's too much to help someone jump from JavaScript to learn Rails or Python, but I still think it should be covered somewhere. Let's see, there's APIs, just a real quick 15-minute section on it. The Smart Brain is the real big project, kind of puts everything together. It even uses like face detection. I think I heard it uses like some kind of machine learning stuff. I didn't go through it, but it looks pretty impressive. A nice thing about the database too, instead of, I believe in Angela Yu's database section, she uses Mongoose. She does talk about NoSQL versus SQL. Okay, so she does have a whole SQL section, and then she goes into MongoDB. I see a lot of these courses focus on MongoDB and Mongoose, and then they don't have as much information on SQL, so it's mostly in NoSQL. I think Postgres and SQL databases are still a lot more common in most companies out there. I mean, some companies obviously use NoSQL databases, but I think it's really good to understand the fundamentals of SQL and how to understand relationships and writing SQL queries. I mean, that's really common. If you go and start doing a full stack developer, you should know how to do like a select statement and joins, and understanding that, and how to write SQL statements and insert statements. Like, I kind of like that, and I like how this section actually goes into that. See, joining tables, like you're going to definitely be doing that in the real world, especially if you're a full stack and working in the back end, which is nice. And then deployment and production. Everybody does Heroku. I guess it's just a really simple way to do deployments. I think that's fine. I mean, maybe being nitpicky, I'd like to see something on AWS, or I know Netlify, or some of the other popular deployment options out there. Maybe even use a GitHub page or something. He has GitHub project files. But there's so many ways to do it, and there's really no standard, I don't think. Every company's going to be different of how they do their CI/CD pipeline and how they're getting stuff out in production. And then, of course, this is the end of the course. You get where to go from here, kind of some extra questions, ask me anythings, Windows users and extras. And I'll just go end this up with some announcements he's had in the last few months. So they had like a hackathon that he was talking about, some freebies for the new course. He wrote a book. He has a website called Zero Mastery. He's talking about he had a hackathon that they were putting on. Some more hackathon information, community updates, So I don't see too much information like what's been updated in the course. We do monthly updates, newsletters. So lots of promotion if here are things he's doing. I know it's been updated. Oh, new coding live streams by Star Mentors. So I think this is all about like building the community that he has and just really helping people out. He did AMA and people going to the Zero to Mastery website. Cool. So that's it. You know, if you guys agree with me, leave a comment below. If you disagree with me, leave a comment below. I really appreciate it. I mean, all in all, my conclusion is this is a 30 plus hour course. I give it bonus points for having Postgres SQL database, having a React section, even though it doesn't go into some of the newer features like React hooks, it's still pretty nice. Having some of these neat sections like the history of the web, focusing on CSS Grid and Flexbox, career of a web developer. I think some of those things make it stand out a little bit. I definitely see understand like over 100,000 students have done this. So my final thing is, my final review is I think you guys should buy it. Use the link in the description below. Pick it up. It's only $10 on sale. I think you'll be happy with it. You know, I would probably maybe skip some of the sections. Maybe if you already have a React course, you know, it's still good information, but maybe you want to use your newer React course if you have it. You know, obviously I would skip Bootstrap. The Bootstrap section, it's pretty useless unless you're going to be working at a place that uses Bootstrap. And definitely look into that JavaScript section. That's really neat, going to ES 8, 9, and 10. All right, so that's all I got today. Thanks, guys. Take care.